Hello and welcome to our final installation of the Transformation Series for the 24-25 academic year. I am so grateful to be closing out with such love and light with a dear sister, friend, colleague of mine, Sara Salazar, who is our special guest today. My name is Rachel Bryant. I am the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at CIS. I've also been a student, and I've also been in the classroom as an adjunct, and I'm just so pleased to serve the institution this way. Sara is also a long-standing member of our community. Sara is an assistant professor of undergraduate studies and women's spirituality, a mother, a partner, a beloved community member here at CIS, and as I mentioned, a professor. How did you find CIS?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new faces and new names. So my name is Sara Salazar. I've been at CIS for this fall is going to be 22 years, which is incredible. I came to CIS for 2 years. I was like, I'm gonna be in and out 2 years, and now 22 years later, here I am. But I'm from rural Illinois. I'm from right off the Mississippi River in Northwest Illinois. I'm from a small steel mill town in Illinois, and there's great things about being from small towns in the Midwest. And for me, it was like I needed to get out of there. And when I was in high school, I heard about people going to college. I didn't know anybody who had ever gone to college. I didn't really know what that was, but I was really curious about it. And I did not have a guidance counselor who was helpful and wanted to help me. So my parents and I figured it out, and went to college. And when I was in college, I found a mentor who she's still a mentor to me. I just had lunch with her recently. Said, gosh, you've been mentoring me for almost 30 years now. And she said at one point, I think you should go to graduate school. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I really didn't, I had no clue what graduate school was. I said, what do you do there? What do people do? Where do you go? And so she kind of explained it to me, and I was like, okay, that might be interesting, but I wasn't really sure. And when I was about 25, I decided, like, I'm not really sure sorry, that's my Chihuahua Luna. I'm not sure what direction I'm going, but I think graduate school might help.
Sara, can you talk a little bit more about the elders um, who have made a formative difference
Mm,
in your life, particularly as a young adult, but
mhm.
now at this stage?
Yeah, thank you
And
so much,
thank you so
Shirley.
much for being here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I share that I'm from rural Illinois. So my family came from Mexico. My mom's side came from Michoacán and Nayarit. Following the railroad lines through South Texas up to Illinois. And my dad's family also came from Mexico, but down on the border from San Benito, Texas. They were migrant farm workers and settled in Northwest Illinois. So I was lucky to be raised with, two sets of grandparents and my great grandmother. And my mom was one of eight. My dad's one of 12. And so I had a lot of elders around me, a lot of yeah, a lot of support. I think of it as I always say that my mom's four sisters are like the different faces of the goddess, right? I have lots of different examples of like how to be in the world, and I'm so thankful and proud to have come from such a large family. But what I write about in the book, when I think about mothering, like some of my first memories around mothering are actually with my grandfathers. I come from a military family. For many communities of color, the military is a way to get out of small towns. And so my mom was always juggling when my dad was traveling. My dad was in the Navy. My mom was always juggling with like her sisters and like grandparents, and like we were raised in a kind of a more communal way. I had like all my cousins, like we all went to the same school, and um So my maternal grandfather, my grandpa Joe, was a gardener. He also worked at the steel mill, but he was a gardener, and he always took a lot of time with us grandchildren, taking us out to, he had a big plot of land, like a couple acres, um, teaching us what to grow, how to grow it. We spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my grandmother, learning how to cook, how to make enchiladas, how to make tamales, how to make pozole, all these recipes that were handed down. And then he would take us to the garden and like, this is how you grow it. These are the seeds. This is when you do it. And so learning about my culture through gardening, through seeds, through connection with him was really important and foundational for me. Those lessons in that garden have served me throughout my life. I mean, I still am a gardener. I was telling Rachel and Shirley, this is one of my plants that really just wanted to be in this conversation with us. But I do a lot of gardening. I do a lot of gardening with my kids, and using a lot of the same techniques that my grandfather taught me. Both of my grandfathers were big gardeners. And so I learned a lot about, food as a way to transmit culture, as a way to transmit love, um, as a way to be in connection. One of the stories I share in my chapter in our book is that in the 1970s and the 1980s in Illinois, there were a lot of strikes happening by steel mill workers because of, I mean, we're living it again, right? we're, we're living this again of like what's happening with these different industries. And so there were always strikes happening, and it was really hard on my small community. It was like this kind of boom and bust of people like losing homes and marriages buckling, and then, kids being pulled out of school because they were moving, and it was really hard. And then like times of boom where everyone, came back to town and they bought another house. And but at those times, my grandfather really recognized that people needed food, people needed connection to land. And so every strike, he would divvy up his plot of land and he would give it to any family who needed it. They just needed to tend it and take care of it. Um, he still took us out there too to, tend our plots. But it was always amazing to see all the families that came together that you probably wouldn't have come together otherwise, sharing different kinds of food, sharing recipes, and just taking care of one another, right? At a time that was very, very difficult in my community. That land became the center of the community in many ways. And so learning how to bring community together, learning how to connect with people across language differences, across cultural differences, right? Because all families needed to be cared for was an essential value that I learned from him, and how to do it, right? Not that, oh, we just hold this. No, this is how you do it. These are the steps that you take. And I really appreciate those lessons that he gave to me and to, all of my cousins. And we talk about that a lot. My cousins and I still talk about, all the stuff we learned in that garden.
When I worked in women's spirituality for a really short period of time, but the one thing that I remember more than anything is the unique class titles. Everything was so different. And my question to you was, were you consciously aware of how much outside the box you were when you were developing these courses and doing that intentionally, or were you just letting it just flow and to see what happened? How did that come to be?
I think May and I were really hungry to talk about, yeah, these stories that lived within us. And we were really curious to hear other people's stories. We really wanted to know, yeah, what's happening? What's happening in the world? What's happening with mothering in this moment in time? And so it was more about creating the opportunity for people to come and share rather than for us to share our experiences. This is, something Shayla, who's a current student, this semester I was saying, I don't lecture in a classroom, like very rarely, I was teaching in methodologies or research methods class, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do like a little lecturette, and then we're going to move on, okay? Because it's really about the students. And so that's what May and I were trying to do, is create the framework for the students to be able to talk about their experiences and maybe think differently about them, or try on new things. So it wasn't a like feel good class. It's hard work. um, but I agree that the names of the classes, was one of the things that brought me to women's spirituality. I was like just blown away that you can get a degree in this, this is amazing. And when I was thinking of graduate school, I was looking at a lot of different programs, and one of the things that brought me in was the names of the classes. And like, I think I'm going to choose joy for graduate school. I think I'm going to choose something that is just really calling me. I mean, who knows if there's a job out there after this, but I want to enjoy this experience. And that's kind of been my approach, even for my dissertation. I was like, I think I just want to have fun with this, which you don't think of fun and dissertation going together. Those aren't two things that, most people think of, but I was like, I think I just want to really focus on joy. And I did. I had an amazing dissertation experience looking at art. I mean, I was going to all these different music shows and um, exhibits of Latino artists in the Bay Area and outside, and how their spirituality impacted their art. And so I was thankful for women's spirituality for creating that foundation for me to be able to do that. Yeah, because I don't think I would have found that anywhere else. I don't know any other institution. I couldn't, when I was looking for graduate school, I couldn't find an institution where I could kind of bring all these different things together. I mean, I'm a true interdisciplinary scholar, and most programs aren't like that, right? They're like very focused and like you do this one thing. So teaching in the BA Interdisciplinary Studies program is a really good fit for me, because that's most of our students. We're like, I'm interested in these like three things, and I want to really like talk more about them. And so, yeah.
Breathing in all the gift that you are and that you've shared today with us, Sara. And just thank you so much for the leadership at CIIS, for the way that you're holding our students and inspiring them to go out and do their great things, tending their fires as part of their education, their full fires, tending to their spiritual selves, their academic selves, their parenting selves. Thank you so much for that. And best of luck with the continued writing on this topic, and spreading those seeds, scattering those seeds everywhere you go, so that we have a world of very confident, capable mothers working for all of us. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Rachel. Thank you, Shirley, for the invitation. It's been wonderful to see you both and be in community with you again, and after a long time. And it's great to see all of you. Hi, Tiffany. It's great to see
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna